Hello, Happy New Year, and welcome to my 7th video of my Hocus Pocus dollhouse. If you've been keeping up, then you can probably tell what I've done to it this time. I finally got all the outside trim done. I've got the windows trimmed out. I've applied the daub in between the little timbers. On the side, I've added the siding, and I've just got to do the water wheel. I've got both of the chimneys attached. I've got the back of it daubed and trimmed out. So it's just waiting on its paint, and I'll open it up now and let you see the inside of it. This is the front half, the outside, and on the inside of this one I've not really done anything this week to this. I have got the steps cut out, or part of the steps, which there's not much to them yet, so I'll probably work on this next week, trying to finish up the steps for this part. But other than this, that's all I've done on this half of the house. But I have done a lot to this side of the house with the fireplace. I got this chimney put on, which I did have the chimney on the other side too. We'll look at that better later. But on the inside, I've got all the walls painted the way I want them. I've got the fireplace painted, and pretty much everything in here is finished except for the floor and the ceiling, and then I'll just have to install those 3 front windows, and this side will be finished. Next week, hopefully next week, I'm going to paint the other side of the house, and I'll show you a better detailed video of what colors I used and how I mixed the colors to get the look that I've got here. And one thing I did is I did make a note, a list of the colors that I used. You know, everything was brown, and I didn't want it to all just look bland or blah, so I made sure that the walls were one shade, the trim was another shade, the floor will be a different shade of brown, so everything gets a different shade so that it just doesn't look so dull. So I made a list of which colors went where, so that it'll be easier for me to match the other side up to this side. So I've already had a couple people ask if I've got a project after this one, and my answer to that is yes. I am wanting to make Dorothy's house from The Wizard of Oz, because that's my favorite movie. Hocus Pocus would probably be my second favorite movie, but I just wanted to do this one first because it's the 30th anniversary for the movie, so that's why I'm wanting to get this one made this year. And my original idea for the Sanderson sister house was more this size, and I've been watching Ara. She has her own YouTube channel called Bentley House Minis. She's a dollhouse maker, and after watching her videos for a couple of years, it's made me want to go from my original small models to making it into an actual dollhouse. So I'll show you the videos that I've done this week where I've made the chimneys and painted the inside walls, and how I've attached the siding, and I've made some little plates to go on a shelf, and so I'll show you all these other things that I've done this week in the video. Okay, so I don't know, this is the first time I've tried this before, but on another channel I've been watching Bentley House Minis, and she did this, so I'm going to try this. This is drywall compound and Elmer's glue. That's what I'm going to use for the outside of the house. That's supposed to look like stucco, or whatever that is. It goes on the outside of the house here. So I'm going to use the drywall compound and the Elmer's glue. I'm just going to mix a little bit at a time, because you know, I've never done it, so I just want to get the hang of it. So I'm just going to mix up a little bit before I do a lot. And I'm just guessing on the amount. I'm just going to do about half and half, whatever amount I want. I'm just going to do about half of this compound with half of the glue, and just see what that does. So I've got about this much mixed of this. and then I'm going to just pour a little bit of the glue in. Maybe a little less glue than compound, because in the videos I've watched, the more glue you use, the runnier this will be, and I don't want this to be too runny, so I don't want to put too much glue in it. Some people just use the straight up drywall compound, and that I guess is good, but on Bentley House Minis, I noticed she said that the glue just makes it a harder finish, and I like the idea of the glue, because anything that's going to make this stronger, I'm going to like that better. So again, with this being my first time, this has kind of got me nervous, and I just don't want it to run all over the place and make a mess. So I may even add some more drywall compound to that, because that looks like that's not going to stick very well. So I'll just keep working with that, and then I'll see what it looks like. I'll go ahead and put a little bit on here. Actually, it's not running like I thought it was going to, so that's probably a pretty good consistency. But I'm already noticing that I'm going to like using a paintbrush to apply this. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab a paintbrush and just paint that on with this paintbrush, because look at that, how much easier that goes on. And this doesn't need to be smooth, it just needs to have a texture to it. So I'm just going to, I guess, kind of sloppy smear it on here. And I want it to be kind of thick. I may even let that set just a minute and then come back over it again. But I actually like this a lot. It's way better than I thought this was going to be. I thought this was going to be way messier. Okay, so I've got this much done, and I definitely like applying this with the paintbrush. And then when you get into these tiny corners, like right in this area, it's good to just push that on down in there with a smaller brush. And I don't think they call this stucco, I think it's called daub. Maybe it's daub, and it's made of like sand or dirt, kind of like a clay sort of thing they just make. And I guess this style of house would be a Tudor house, with the timbers, and it's real popular for the time period and that era. So if I get this on these boards, I'm just taking my finger and just keeping the fronts of those boards wiped off. This is a lot easier than I expected it to be, but as it's already starting to dry, it looks like, and I want it to be kind of thick and really look like it's real. So I want to make sure you don't really see that cardboard through there, even though it is going to be painted later. I just want to make sure there's enough on there to really look, the way it should. Okay, so I've got this side done. I think it looks really good. So I've been putting this on real messy on the front half of the house. Like, I've just been really trying to get it into the corners. But to just wipe that away, I've literally just been taking my hand and just wiping it off of the post or the little wood pieces here where I don't want it to be. To me, I'm finding it's just easier to be messy with it, because you can wipe it away wherever you don't want that to be, instead of trying to be so perfect and get it in those little nooks and crannies. And I'm definitely getting the hang of it. At first I was trying to be so careful, just trying to get in those little cracks and things, and then I thought, heck, just smear that on there and then wipe it away. So it's just going a lot quicker, and it's getting in those little cracks better than if I was just trying to be real easy with it. Right here on the edge, where you can see that it looks like cardboard, I'm using that same drywall compound and just gonna smear this into here to hide that cardboard, because I don't want it looking like it's been made out of cardboard. So I'm just gonna go and fill this all in and then just smooth it out with my finger, just to make it look like the wood that's, on the two sides here, instead of it looking like, layers of paper and cardboard. It'll just, be painted to look like the wood. And then even around the windows, anywheres where the cardboard is showing, I'm going to go in there with this drywall compound and just smear that in there, and just after it dries I'll sand it down just a little bit and just paint it when I paint the rest of the house. And in between times that I've been working on the house and letting, you know, the paint dry or the glue dry or whatever, I've been starting some smaller projects that I've been wanting to make for the house. And I went to Hobby Lobby the other day and I found this picture, well, I mean, I found this pack of pewter or silver looking plates, and I took a picture of them just to have a picture to go by. I thought it looked like something I could probably make myself, because I didn't really care for the silverware. I didn't really need all that, so I was just trying to think of ways I could just make my own stuff out of things I've already got at home. So to make this little pewter plate, I've took a washer for off of like a nut and a bolt, and I've took my thin cardboard that I use, and I just drew out a little circle. I just find something not quite as big as the washer itself. All I had was this eyeball, but just find something that you could trace. It's a circle, and cut it out of that little thin board, and I've already got one cut out. And then I just used my tacky glue, and I used a tiny little bit around the circle and just glued that down, and then that kind of gave me that plate look. And then I've already got a couple of those already glued and painted. I used pewter. This is apple barrel paint. It's called pewter gray, and I went over it with the pewter, and then I went over it with a metallic silver, and it just kind of gave it a more realistic pewter look. See, here's one with the silver, and here's one without the silver. It looks better with the silver. I just dusted a little bit over the pewter color, and it just gave it a more real look, other than just a flat painted look. So I'm going to make at least, I've got the 3 of those. I'll finish painting those and make this last one. But I even looked up pictures of pewter plates, and I think it turned out pretty good. Of course, I've still got to go over the top of this one with the silver, just so it's a little bit more shiny. Now the center of this, the little hole here in the middle, some of these are much bigger, but I did notice that some of these do have a smaller hole in the center, and it looks almost identical to that plate there. And another part that I've been starting to think about, since I'm so far along on the house, is I've been trying to get these 2 chimneys cut out and put together, which was pretty simple. I mean, it's not too complicated, and I just cut those out of the same foam board, and I just made sure that I peeled that paper off to expose the foam so that I can carve into this and make that look like bricks, like I did on the fireplace on the inside. So I've got the basic chimney shape that I need, and then I can just go around the top with another little strip of the foam board and just give it that little decoration that it needs. This is the little chimney so far. I've been going in with the glue gun like I did on the mantle or the fireplace, and just putting those little melt marks in here. And then I've got this one done. And of course I put these little supports in there just to make it a little stronger. So in case somebody came and was trying to squeeze on it saying, "Ooh, what's that made out of?" they won't, squeeze it and break it. So I just put that in there. I'll paint all that black, and then when I attach the fake smoke, it'll that won't be seen at all. So there it is. Just gotta go glue it on and get it Mod Podged. You know, I was saying Mod Podge earlier, but it's Mod. I need to think of the 1960s with the Mod era. Alright, I've got the chimney glued on, but I'm going to take a little bit of wood glue and go around these edges. I hot glued it on because the hot glue doesn't really bother this foam too bad. So I'm just going to go in here and just squirt that wood glue around the edge, because that'll dry real hard and help hold that in better. So that's how that's going to look once it's done. And of course it'll also have the shingles that will go up around the edge, and that'll also help hold it in place. And I went in from the bottom and stuck some of my stick pins up through it, so that's also in there holding that on. I'm also going to go right in this area, right around the top of it with some wood glue, and just let that puddle up here and dry, just to kind of give it a finished look, because that just kind of caps that off, and that'll dry hard, and it'll also get of course painted later, and it won't even look like glue. But I just feel like anywhere I can put some glue to just help strengthen it up will help it out a lot. Now of course this middle piece will get painted black, and once that's painted you won't even notice it. And of course it's going to have the smoke coming out of here. This will just have a regular color smoke, but the other fireplace or the other chimney will be the one that has that purple smoke that you see in the pictures or in the movie. And of course this one also will get that black paint just to hide that white foam that's in there. I went over the whole thing just lightly with this khaki acrylic paint, and I've let that dry a little bit. And now I'm going to take like this brick red color, it's called Tuscan red, and I'm just going to barely get any on the paintbrush. Just get a very little bit of that on the paintbrush, and I'm just going to basically dry brush that on. Just trying to get the bricks painted more than the grout line in between. And it don't matter if it gets in the grout a little bit, but I just want to make the bricks look red and leave the grout line as much as I can with that khaki color. Now I've got the red on there the way I want it, and I'm just going over it lightly with some gray color just to help, and I'm doing that while the red's still wet. It's not as dry as it could be, so that the gray and the red can just mix. And then there's some places where I've got the grout line a little too painted over, so I may go back in there and work on this some more, just with a tiny brush, go in there with a grout color. And this is just something you have to just sort of keep playing with until you get it looking the way you want it. So here is my final paint job. I just kept blending those colors together till I got what I wanted. I went around the edges where I thought the smoke or the soot would blacken the bricks, so I went around the top here and closer to the bottom where I thought dirt would build up, and back in the corners of these little cubby holes, and then continuing that black, just dry brushing all the way up through the chimney. And then at the very end I took these drawing pastels. They're kind of chalky. They're not really chalk, but they are sort of like chalk, and I just took my darker color and I just kind of scraped it across the bricks to make the edges of the bricks pop a little more. And then I just kind of dusted that away with a small brush, but that just kind of put some grime on there. And then I could even take the white one and do some highlights if I think it needs a little highlighting. But it's kind of like chalk, so you can just sort of play with that and add some more layers with this. So I like the way it's turned out. I've got a picture on my phone. It's really hard to tell, but I tried to just match up the color of those bricks to the the color that it shows in the movie.